Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 13th, 2026. And Frankie's suspension has been confirmed. I'm going to tell you how many matches he will miss. Also, one of the most promising talents to come out of Ecuador is currently in Barcelona on a trial basis. I'm going to tell you who it is. And finally, reports in England stating that Barcelona are trying to sign Bernardo Silva. Is that true? Is it not? Can I tell you what the answer is? We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. We'll begin this video with the news, or I should say by discussing this clown. Remember this clown? I talked about him during yesterday's podcast. That's Carlos Antonio Vélez, a pundit on the Colombian sports channel Win Sports, and during the Spanish Super Cup final broadcast, he went on a rant about accusing Lamine Yamal of doping, saying that Lamine Yamal is taking growth hormones that he puts on his bandages and he wraps his hand with it, and he stated that Lamine Yamal was doping, and he said it with full confidence. And of course, I talked about this in the podcast, and I said I really hope that both FC Barcelona and Lamine Yamal sue the crap out of this clown so he can learn that words have consequences and that you cannot go on national television in front of millions of people and accuse an 18-year-old kid of doping when you have absolutely no basis and no evidence to do so. Well, guess what? It looks like Win Sports contacted this idiot and said, hey, idiot, how about you stop saying stupid shit? Because today, Carlos Antonio Vélez had to get on national television and apologize for saying what he said and clarify that he was just speculating, that he wasn't accusing Lamine Yamal of that was just a hypothesis he had. But here's the thing. He couldn't just end it there. This moron, who apparently has no control of his own words, decided to end his apology by saying, but you know what is true? You know what is factual? Is the Negreira case that's in every media outlet that's currently in court. Someone hire a surgeon to get this guy's foot out of his own mouth, because apparently he just cannot shut up. This is kind of like when your girlfriend cheats on you and says, well, I cheated on you, I'm sorry, but it is kind of your fault because, you stopped caring, or, you stopped dressing well. What kind of half-ass apology is that? Anyways, Carlos Antonio Vélez, please keep running your mouth, and I hope that Barcelona sues you into the ground. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news, because as I told you in yesterday's podcast, I explained how Frankie de Jong will have to serve a suspension. I told you that even though the Spanish Super Cup final or the Spanish Super Cup in general is over, Frankie de Jong still has to serve his suspension from the red card that he received in the final. And that suspension has to be served in the next official match, whether it be Copa del Rey or La Liga. And of course, the next official match is a Copa del Rey match against Racing de Santander. So Frankie de Jong will not play that match. And well, today we have an official confirmation of how many matches Frankie de Jong will miss. And it's going to be only one. Thank God. I was really worried. I'm not going to lie, because, hey, if they suspended Lewandowski for doing this for 3 matches, I was really worried about Frankie. But thankfully, it's been confirmed. Frankie will only serve a 1-match suspension, which means he will miss the match against Racing de Santander. Not a big deal. Now on to the next bit of news, because one of Ecuador's most promising youngsters is currently in Barcelona on trial. Not on trial as in being sued, but on a trial basis, I should say. And it's no other than Ederson Castillo. Now, if you haven't heard of Ederson Castillo, he's a 17-year-old midfielder who currently plays at LDU Quito. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, he's considered one of the most promising talents currently in Ecuador. Now, Ederson Castillo just turned 17 recently, back in December, and he is now in Barcelona showcasing his talents to see whether Barcelona will be interested in signing this youngster. Now, given that he is 17 years old, he just turned 17 years old, if Barcelona do decide to sign him, of course, they will not be able to until 2027, which is when he turns 18. Because if you sign someone outside of Europe, they have to be 18 years old. But just know that Ederson Castillo is also wanted by some of the big European clubs, including Manchester United, Bayern Munich, and also Anderlecht. Now, this news was officially confirmed by LDU Quito's president, Isaac Alvarez, who stated that he was trying to keep this under wraps, but it made it to the media. So he confirmed that, yes, Ederson Castillo is in Barcelona, is doing a tryouts with the academy. So we'll see whether Ederson Castillo makes the cut. But of course, this is part of Barcelona's effort to continuously sign young, promising players and bring them over to the academy to develop them into future stars. And who knows, maybe one day we could be talking about Ederson Castillo, the first team player. Now, speaking of midfielders, we have to talk about a midfielder that we talked a lot about when Xavi Hernandez was the coach. And that, of course, is Bernardo Silva, where we constantly talked about how Barcelona always wanted to sign him. Of course, Barcelona wasn't able to make any moves because it was too expensive. So he ended up renewing his contract with Manchester City, a contract that expires this summer, where Bernardo Silva will become a free agent. And today, English media outlets were reporting that Barcelona are trying to sign Bernardo Silva. Now, as far as my understanding, Barcelona are not looking to sign Bernardo Silva. Part of it because of his age, but the bigger part is because we have a million midfielders, so there's nowhere to fit Bernardo Silva. So this could probably be a tactic by his agent, Jorge Mendes, to drive up hype, to build up hype, because, a lot of agents do that with their players when, hey, he's going to Barca, he's going to Madrid, and that way other clubs are like, oh, crap, hold on, we got to move quickly. Right, so they could be just a marketing strategy. What I hope it's not is that Jorge Mendes is once again trying to bring one of his players and shove him down our throats, because he has done that plenty of times. In fact, I suspect that that's probably what happened to Joao Cancelo, because let's not forget, Jorge Mendes did us a huge favor over the summer, and that's that he took Ansu Fati off our hands. It's Jorge Mendes who got the Monaco deal through. He's the one who went to Monaco, like, hey, you want Ansu? Then he came to Ansu, hey, Ansu, let's go to Monaco. He negotiated the whole deal. He even negotiated the extension of contract of Ansu Fati with Barcelona, so Barcelona can extend his salary over more years and reduce the financial fair play impact. So I suspect that maybe the Joao Cancelo signing was Jorge Mendes saying, hey, I did you a favor. Well, it's your turn to pay me back that favor. I have my guy in Saudi. He's not happy, so I'm bringing him over. Make some space. So hopefully that's not what's going on with Bernardo Silva, because like I've said a million times, we have a million midfielders. And the last thing we need is another one who's Bernardo Silva. Maybe if you told me Goretzka, okay. But Bernardo Silva, I feel like, well, that chapter is over. Anyways, let's end today's video with the news that Barcelona have recalled and loaned out once again a Barca Athletic player who's no other than Alan Godoy, the 22-year-old center forward that Barcelona signed last winter transfer market in February of 2025 from Eldense. He arrived at Barca Athletic with as one of the most promising players in the lower divisions. However, he ended up getting injured. He had a good start at Barca Athletic, scored some goals, but he ended up getting injured. And then Barcelona decided to send him on loan to Estrela Amadora in Portugal so he can continue growing and developing. However, he wasn't getting many minutes, so Barcelona recalled him, and now they have sent him on loan to Sabadell, another team in Catalonia. Now, Alan Godoy has a contract with Barcelona until 2027, and of course, Barcelona will be monitoring him for the remainder of the season to see how his development continues. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I did upload another video a few moments ago. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.